Cool new piece of kit. Have you seen it? Do you want it? I do. We all do. Need to jump on that. I need that piece of kit in my gear kit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. If you've had these intrusive thoughts at any point in your career, this episode is for you. And yes, they are intrusive thoughts. So sit back, stay tuned, hang on. We're going for a ride.
Brian, gear. Gotta have the latest. Gotta get it. It's interesting because at the time that we're filming this, NAB had just about completed. And if you were on social, your feeds were probably filled with, influencers and YouTubers who are out there and other, and production folks who are on the floor checking out all the latest stuff and making us drool. And the reality is that companies have gotten super good. They have got us dialed in. They know what makes us drool for that latest kit. They know that it is this emotional need to have the latest and the greatest all the time, and they are amazing at it. And we open our wallets and we just buy. And we have, in our cage, and maybe I'll take the credit for that, is there are some pieces of kit which for the first few years of owning them, maybe they didn't really get used as much. They got used maybe once and then they sat. Now they're getting used a ton, but it's that idea of we need it, let's get it, and then you just buy it and you justify its purchase later. Why do we chase? What is it about this? Why does this happen, Dr. Brian?
Well, companies are really good at making iterative look innovative. That's the first thing. When you sit through an Apple keynote, the camera's going to be better. They make it sound like it's night and day. It's not. It's iterative. There's nothing innovative happening. Now, when a piece of kit comes that is innovative, we all want to get our hands on it. But even the iterative, they've been good at training us to want to jump through hoops for it. And, I can't, it's good marketing. Let's be blunt. It's just good marketing. Do I need 4K over 8K? That's iterative as well. That's not innovative. But the way you use it theoretically could be innovative. So they play on that as well. They allow you to look at the iterative nature and say, how can I put that to good use or better use than they're telling me? So.
But they also feed into the desire, right? Because there's a reason why we're drooling over these cameras, and it's because internally we have this desire to perhaps be something that we're currently not. And we're almost thinking that it's the piece of equipment that is going to make that difference, that's going to give us that leap we need to have that amazing reel, or to wow that client with what our capabilities are. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. I think you would agree with that one.
Yeah. I very quickly think about the constant push for 3D now. And I think about way back when a client approached us, because I'm sort of a hobbyist in 3D. We built our own rig. Did it, been there, done that a decade ago. I don't need to buy unless the entire market's pushing that way. Yeah. Again, it's iterative of technologies of the past. It's things we can do on our own, but it still appeals to us. The idea to be part of something new and unique, even if it's not new and unique. So it does play a role. It really does.
Yeah. And I think and I think also even that there's a phrase that a lot of us will use, and I don't want to call anyone out specifically, but there was one time in our studio we had a visit from a friend who was in the business. He was much younger, really getting a foothold into the business and all that, but he came in because he was having a crisis, a decision crisis, and we're thinking, man, what's going on? We're thinking it's something monumental, and the crisis was, do I get a jib or a Steadicam? And that was the crisis. And he had been, guys losing sleep over this and trying to figure out what it is that he wanted to pick up. And we were asking him, well, what is it that you're looking to achieve? Why do you need this specific piece of kit? And his answer, which is something that you hear all the time, is because it will make me a better shooter. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating that the piece of kit that goes under the camera is what's going to make you a better shooter through the camera. And that's something that we hear quite a bit. And people sometimes, I think there's what the manufacturers feed is that desire that we have to be better at what we do. And we're always looking for the silver bullet, the magic thing that's, as soon as we take it out of the box, we are now that new thing. We are now an amazing cinematographer because we have this set of lights versus this one. We have this particular camera, this particular lens. Now look at our stuff. Whereas that piece of kit is really kind of useless if you're not spending the time getting better at the actual craft of shooting. But it's something that we hear all the time. All the time.
I think what bothers me, though, about this kind of a conversation is the way we delude ourselves in that discussion. And this is what has come up with you when we discuss this person and this situation, is the way the conversation kept becoming cyclical. Mm-hmm. What are you looking to accomplish? That was always the lead question. And it kept going, well, I want to be a better shooter. Right, but what are you looking to accomplish with the piece of kit? Well, if I had the jib, I could do this. That's true. If I had a Steadicam, I could do this. That's true too. What are you looking to accomplish? To become better. You don't become better with a piece of kit. You become better because of your skills in mastering the piece of kit.
Yeah.
These two things are disconnected, and we're always led to believe that they're one and the same, and they're just not. So anybody out there who hasn't maximized their gear, stop chasing. Maximize your gear. Find out the things that you thought it couldn't do that it now can do. Mm-hmm. Hey, you've never used filters. You've never used a matte box. Could that change everything for you and give you something new to learn with a piece of kit you already have? The answer is yes. Yeah. Have you? No? Why not? Oh, okay. It's always the same. And it's the same for us. We've had to justify. We will sit and have conversations about why do we need this? What can our current gear accomplish what can this gear accomplish that our current set can't? Yeah. Not easier, not faster, not larger, not bigger. What can this do that our kit can't?
It's funny because I look at the history of cameras that we've been in as a business and just how long we've stayed with a particular piece of kit. And then it's way beyond where the rest of the industry is using it. We're still on that piece of kit, and then we jump into the next. And then, I think we have maybe I think we're on our third iteration of cameras, and we've been in business for 22 years. Yeah. And so the leaps that we take are actually pretty big ones in terms of what the camera is and what the features are of it that help our workflow, that help us become more efficient. And in these cases, really it is about capturing better images, but we're jumping in understanding all of these things before we actually make the purchase. We've been using I'll be specific. We have we're using the Blackmagic 6K. That's our camera. Since that camera's come out, there have been, I forget how many iterations of Blackmagic cameras, including the new lines, which are beautiful. And there's a big part of me that's like, oh, I want that. I look at that one, and oh, I got to have that one and all that. But I stopped myself because there are still, number one, the 6K that we currently use is still exceptionally capable of stunning images and doing some really great work for us. And we have really gotten to know the camera really well and have it match the way we do our work. So it still has a lot of life in it, and I don't see ourselves necessarily changing from that. But what's fascinating is as you do look at some of the new technologies, there's some really big things that you also have to look at. So you're chasing gear because of this idea of this dream of X, Y, or Z, as opposed to getting better. And I often think that sometimes we chase gear because we're actually masking. It's the same way that sometimes people do busy work as opposed to doing that big thing that really matters. Instead of making that sales call to that client that is ready to say yes to a big contract, and maybe it's scaring you because they might say no. So you end up checking email for the rest of your day, or let me work on our website for today, as opposed to actually calling the client. It's the same thing. There's an avoidance of a work that has to happen for you. You're not ready to admit to yourself that maybe you have to improve in your craft. And if you can flip that, if you can reframe that idea of being a better shooter by putting in the work to be a better shooter, like actually become better at videography, at cinematography, at all of that, then when you do get that next camera, whoa, watch out, you'll be unstoppable. And there's a bunch of other things too that come with cameras. Like I was taking some notes while we were both talking here, taking some notes. And there's a lot. So I just mentioned that idea of craft, right? Getting better at your craft. So stop hiding from that. Like put the work in to do it. You have all the lenses you need. You have the camera you need. You have all the lights you need. You're good. Need something? Maybe rent it for a week and try something new with that before you buy something. But even then, just use what you already have. Number two, money is a big concern here. We talk about, we're all running businesses, whether you're a solopreneur, freelancer, or you have a company with employees, a staff, the whole nine in a studio. Managing money is critical. And if you're using your dollars to just simply continue buying new things, you're not managing your dollars the right way, in a way that's going to serve yourself, your company, or your clients in the right way. So you got to be really, really clear about that. The other is workflow. You can watch all these videos about these newest kits and, it's like, oh, look how great this shot came out. There's an entire workflow that no one is talking about that went into that. If, our Blackmagic 6K, we use Canon EF lenses, or any EF mount lens is what we use. If we jump from that, we're not only is it changing our workflow on set, we're also having to then, again, on the money side, we're having to reinvest in lenses. Our lenses are perfectly fine for what we need to accomplish. So right now, there's no reason to do that. So be really cautious about workflow. The files that you receive, how is that working in post-production? What's your storage situation going to be like with new footage? What's that 12K footage? 12K files. Great. You have all that resolution. Where's it going to go? And then the other thing is the support needs. A lot of times we get captured by these pieces online and they make us want something. There's an entire level of support that we're not seeing. I remember specifically when Red came out, it was like, oh my goodness, like I need to have this. And then you go to the website and you saw exactly, it was like a Lego kit. It was like that large Lego kit that you wanted to get, but you realize, oh, I got to put all this together. And there's all these components to really make that camera sing. And by the time you were all in, like not only from a money standpoint, but workflow, and yes, like the footage is stunning, it's beautiful. But just make sure that what you're getting is actually fitting with who it is that you want to be as a filmmaker, as a company. Who are you serving as a client? And if you can make the case for showing how that's going to help you progress to something, and you have a plan to begin to use it, utilize it, get better at the craft, and then use the work to attract other customers, then you can make a case for yourself. But remember, most of the time we're chasing gear because we're hiding from something. We're hiding from the work. And, don't buy something just to have it sit on the shelf. We've made that error, and we don't want you to. So I kind of blacked out a little bit there because I just kind of went on a rant. But I think it's just all the stuff that's kind of hitting me about when we talk about gear. For me, it's really personal. I think I went too deep the other end now, because sometimes, Brian, you'll say to me, hey, did you see this? I'm like, I have no idea. No, I have not. Because I have been avoiding a lot of the RSS feeds and all that kind of stuff. And I'll check in every now and again, but for the most part, I try not to get wrapped up into that. Because as good as this camera is this year, next year it'll be even better. And so if I'm not ready to jump into a new camera, I might take a look and see what's happening in the industry. I don't want to put my head in the sand, but I also don't want it to control my behaviors, my desires, and how I feel about my current equipment. Because you can actually begin to, I know this happened once to me where I started hating the gear that I had, which impacts what you're doing on set. It impacts how you do your work. And now I love the act of making videos and the actual act of filmmaking. And I just give me something, and I just want to play with it. And that's a big difference. And I think that's where we have to kind of separate the chase and really get down to the getting better at who we are.
Whew.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is sometimes the chase is perpetrated because our clients are saying things, and our clients are saying things that, frankly, they're speaking out of their backside because it's the new buzzword. You know, when it was people were going 2K, it was, well, why do you need 2K? Well, do you shoot in 2K? Well, everything prior to this is broadcast, and there's no 2K. Are you future-proofing? No. Are you looking to put it up on a giant screen? No. Then why do you need 2K?
Yeah.
Oh. And that's 4K. Then it's 6K. Then it's 8K. And it's okay to future-proof. I get that. I want to do that. But there's a point at which if you're not pushing in on a web video, and you're not going to do projection, and you're not going to, and you're not going to, and you're not going to, boom, 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 do you really need the latest, greatest 8K camera? And the answer is no. I relate a very quick, and this will be my summation, a student of mine who couldn't teach anything to, came with a chip on his shoulder. He was good producer. I mean, kid did really good work. He knew how to structure his projects, etc. And, had a little bit of an attitude. So one day I just said, I got a challenge for you. I said, I know I can't teach you anything, but I got a challenge for you. Well, what's that? I said, put the zoom lens away. He's like, how'd you know I was using a zoom lens? I'm like, put the zoom lens away. Just use a 50. Just go out there. And he's like, but I said, it means you have to get closer to your subject, further from your subject. You have to actually structure your shots accordingly. You can't just sit in one location and get 3 shots. You have to physically interact with your environment. Week goes by, comes back in, and literally is practically bowing at my feet. He's just like, thank you. I needed that. And that goes back to that hiding. We hide. We do what we're comfortable with, and we forget the equipment we have. For him, learning to use the nifty 50 over his zoom lens was a huge game changer. And every project then was actually more structured because of it, and better. He was already good to begin with. Now he was better. And part of it just came from looking differently at the work, and looking at the work with purpose. Intention, as you keep saying. The intention to buy gear is no different. Do you need it? Is it just about making your life easier? Or is there really a better outcome? How do you qualify the outcome? If you don't know how to pivot along your hips to get a nice pan, then what? Why is a Steadicam a better option? Now, if you're walking along next to somebody and you are not using a dolly, which dollies are a lot to set up, sure, I get the Steadicam. Steadicam makes sense, but a simple pivot, practice that. Just practice moving without a tripod from left to right or right to left. Try it and keep doing it till you're better, because that skill is transferable. It's transferable to your tripod. It's transferable to the Steadicam. It's transferable to all these different tools. So work on the skill behind the piece of equipment you want before getting the piece of equipment. And that's my mic drop on this one.
Yeah, and I love that, because I think that's ultimately, it goes back to story, right? All of it goes to story. Is how is it impacting the story? How is it helping you serve your clients? Or if you're just straight up making films, how is it going to help push your story along? Because you can buy a Steadicam, you can buy your, any kind of gimbal or stabilizer or any sort of tool. But if every single shot is using that, then your story actually suffers because of it. So understand why you're getting it and how it's going to be implemented. And I don't want to kind of come off as if, you don't need to buy anything, because it's not the case at all. And there are folks out there who are just amazingly talented, and they're picking up the kit, and when they use it, they are using it, and they know exactly why they bought it. They know exactly why they're
juicing every last
last
usage
bit
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they push out content about it, they're preaching their passion for it because it's actual. Us on the receiving end, we have to then be filters for that content and say, oh wow, that's amazing. Like that's cool. I'm going to keep that in the back of my head, and at some point I'll remember that. But it doesn't mean that you have to pull the trigger at that moment. You don't have to necessarily jump in and buy it right at that moment. Just keep it in mind. And then as you're doing your work, see like, yeah, you know what? That actually, I could see that as a really good piece of my kit, you know? So let's go ahead and do it and make sure that it makes sense for you financially. That's the big one. I know I was very much a fast buyer of things, and I was a fast buyer. Now I'll let things sit in the cart, and then a lot of times I'll be like, all right, I actually want to use this on this next project, but instead of purchasing it, I'll rent it. And there's one particular company that we love to use, and sometimes I'll have conversations with them because they have a really great support team, and I'll say like, hey, this is what I'm looking to achieve. You know, which level of this should I rent for this project? What kind of camera? What kind of lens? What's the weight? All that, and the next thing I know, we're using that piece of kit for a project. What's funny is sometimes you rent that piece of kit and you bring it on that project and you end up maybe not using it because you realize that your form of filming actually, you're not ready for that to be introduced to your workflow. And you find that you have more freedom not using a piece of kit. And so like, whoa, glad I didn't buy it yet, you know? So, and I said yet because there come a time when I think that particular type of kit will be, part of who we are. But for now, it doesn't have to be. So that's an interesting way to kind of get around the buying part. But the gear chase can be deadly, man. It's just watch it and make sure that the dollars are safe. Ultimately, you got to serve your clients, understand why you're doing what you're doing, how does each piece of kit fit with what you're doing, your workflow, and ultimately your finances. You got to protect your finances as a company and make sure that you're straight there. So I can't think of anywhere else to take this one, Brian, because we really hammered it on the gear. And I love gear, man. There's a set of lenses I'm drooling over right now, but I'm not going to do it because we're okay with lenses right now.
So we'll leave it at this. Drool all you want. Don't let it crush your soul, and don't let it empty your wallet until you're absolutely ready for it. That's it.
Boom. That's it. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a comment. How did we do? Did you like the episode? Are there other topics you want us to cover? Make sure you hit the like button. That's a huge help for us. And we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.